Hi you guys, welcome back to my Crypto 101 series, and today we're going to be going over the Tron ecosystem in the TRX cryptocurrency. Now this is going to be a top 10 cryptocurrency in the world based off of its market cap, and I'm going to get more into the tokenomics of this coin and let you know everything that you need to know before you decide to make an investment. If you decide to make an investment, again, this is not financial advice, this is just me researching and giving you the information that I find, okay? Now, before we get started on this video, welcome back to Getting Digital with Deja. Now, let's first start off with the textbook definition of this Tron ecosystem. Tron is a platform built for the widespread distribution of media and entertainment, with the goal of creating a scalable blockchain and virtual machine that would allow content creators to share and monetize content. Content creators maintain full ownership over their content by removing intermediary streaming services like YouTube. Creators receive payments from consumers who pay for the content using their TRX tokens, okay? The network also supports TRC20 tokens, including a large amount of USDT, which is a stablecoin, which can also be used for transactions within the ecosystem. Okay guys, so let's digest every part of that definition that I just gave you guys, starting with the sharing and monetizing content, okay? So content creators are able to share and monetize their content, meaning that they're able to share their content on this platform and make money directly off of this platform without having any intermediaries like YouTube or Apple Music or Spotify or anything like that. So essentially how that works is that these content creators would create their content and put it on this platform instead of putting it on platforms like YouTube or other streaming services and things like that, and they would directly get paid the royalties and everything that comes along with monetizing their content, okay? So say they make music, and instead of putting their music on Apple Music or on YouTube where they take a percentage and you have to go through these intermediaries to be able to get your money and things like that, if you put it on this Tron platform, you will be able to monetize it directly for yourself, okay? So any money coming in, any money generating, any revenue from whatever you're posting is going to go straight to you, and it's going to be paid to you in the form of the TRX coin, or it can also be paid to you within stablecoins. So when I say stablecoins, a stablecoin, we haven't gone over this yet, but it is going to be my next segment that I'm going to be going over after I finish this whole string of crypto coins. But yes, so USDT is USDT Tether, which means it's a stablecoin, and it's going to be quote unquote pegged to the US dollar on a 1-to-1 ratio. So but basically with this stablecoin, you think of 1 USDT as being 1 US dollar. Okay, so it's not like you're getting gypped or anything from your money by being a content creator and putting your content on this platform. You're not getting gypped at all. You're getting paid exactly what the ratio is for a 1-to-1 ratio for the US dollar, okay? That is for the USDT. Now, TRX is not pegged to the US dollar on a 1-to-1 ratio, but you can go ahead and like convert it. So if you want to get paid like $50 for this content that you're doing, you would then yourself like convert it to how many TRX that would cost. Or that would equate to, and then you can set that as the price on your platform, okay? So say like it's $50 but then it's like 100 TRX coins, okay? I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not saying that at all, okay? But if that were the case, then you would just put the price as 100 TRX, okay? So that is really, really cool. You're able to monetize off of your content that you make as a content creator. And I will say this. All right. No shade to YouTube, but in order to get paid from the content that I put on YouTube, I literally have to hit a certain amount of subscribers, a certain amount of hours. I have to have all these other requirements. I mean, 3 million hours, watch hours of shorts. 3 million of shorts. That's insane. That's insane, okay? And then like 1,000 hours of just regular watch hours. I'm sorry, that's just a lot in my opinion. So I don't technically get paid anything right now for posting my content on YouTube. But if I want to post my content on the Tron platform, which I am actually thinking about doing as I did more research on this, I'll be able to get paid out instantly. So now that we've gone over the sharing and the monetizing off of your content, we're going to go into what they call the TRC20 tokens, okay? Now, I have a textbook definition for that, and I'm going to read that and then further explain it for you guys, okay? So, TRC20 tokens are digital assets built on the Tron blockchain using the TRC20 technical standard, designed for creating and managing tokens via smart contracts. So these TRC20 tokens are going to be supported by many of the major exchanges, by most of the major exchanges, which is really, really cool because it's allowing for peer-to-peer payments and then also allowing it to be used for dApps and smart contracts, okay? So when I say smart contracts, you can use this for lending, borrowing, and staking, okay? And for dApps and things of such like that. So it's really amazing. And for peer-to-peer payments, making it faster and more scalable and almost nearly like $0 fees, okay? So that's really, really amazing with this platform offering this TRC20 type of token architecture, okay? So speaking of architecture, we are going to hop into our blockchain architecture, like the way this whole system is built, in just a second because it is very, very unique. But first, I wanted to go ahead and quickly go over the tokenomics for this TRX coin, okay? So the market cap is around $31.1 billion. The price is currently around 33 cents. The current circulating supply is around 94.8 billion tokens. And the max supply is quote unquote unlimited, okay? That is the max supply. The reason why I say quote unquote is because there's a lot of mixed messages going on about this. So the Tron platform has not said explicitly what their max supply is, but after doing a lot of different researches, I have come up with a conclusion of what I gathered from my research and from different like financial advocates and things like that. And I'll go ahead and share what I found, okay? So it says, reports say that the max supply of Tron is 100.85 billion, okay? 100.85 billion. But it's not strictly capped like Bitcoin. The supply can change through a deflationary mechanism where TRX is burned during network transactions and an inflationary mechanism through staking rewards, okay? So you have it on both sides. You have deflationary mechanisms and inflationary mechanisms at the same time happening, coexisting at once. So the market is going to go up and down when it comes to amount of supply being in the market at any given time. So that's why they say quote unquote unlimited, because there is not necessarily a cap. You know how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they have a hard cap, a hard stop on the maximum supply of that coin. Once it hits that cap, there is no more coins that can be put into the ecosystem. Now, with this Tron network, it is not the same. There is no hard cap. So that's why it's quote unquote unlimited, okay? Which I think is kind of insane for this platform and the things that they do, because I think they could just make way more bank if they put a cap on the supply. You know, when you put a cap on it, like when you put a hard cap on it, when it reaches that cap, it's going to be worth so much more because like you can't make any more of it. Now everybody's just trading with each other. There's no more coming into the ecosystem and being minted inside of the ecosystem. So that's the thing about this platform, right? So it's going to be gaining its value from its users, from the creators and the consumers on this platform, not necessarily through the tokenomics of the coin. So now we can finally go over the blockchain technical architecture. Now I do have a little snippet of a summary and then I'm going to go into deeper detail about it. But let me go ahead and give you the textbook definition for their architecture type. The Tron blockchain protocol was modeled using the Google protocol buffers System A method for serializing structured data designed to help platforms and systems communicate with each other quickly and more efficiently. Tron blockchain was built to streamline communications and ensure easy integration with a multitude of sophisticated programming languages. Tron has 3 layers, okay, which are going to be optimized for specific functions, which include the core layer, the storage layer, and the application layer. And now we're going to break that down point by point, explaining what each layer is in charge of doing. So let's start with the core layer. This is very fundamental for the foundational tasks that are going to be placed on this blockchain, okay? So you need this core layer, just like you need the core of something. You need the core layer of the Tron platform, okay? So this layer oversees the accounts and the smart contracts that power this system. So the programming language for this Tron platform is going to be called Solidity, which was actually made by the Ethereum platform, okay? Now the reason why Tron is using Solidity as its programming language is because you can bring anything that you were doing or familiar with from Ethereum and bring it onto this Tron platform. Now that is amazing because Ethereum is big and poppin'. It is the second biggest crypto after Bitcoin. And the reason for that is because of its utility, of its adoption, and of all the things that it can do when developers are making anything on this blockchain. So all the tools and things like that, the language that the programming uses for Ethereum, they went ahead and brought that onto this Tron platform as well, making it even more compatible for people to bring over anything that they're used to doing on Ethereum and try it out on this new platform, or just create a whole new blockchain project on this platform if they wanted to, but just being familiar with the tools already, not having to relearn anything, because if you use Ethereum, you know what to do with Tron. Okay, so it's the same exact language. Now, this core layer also handles the consensus mechanism, which is going to be DPoS, or delegated proof of stake, which we're going to go into in just a little bit, but we're going to explain the other two layers before we hop into that. So now we have the storage layer, which is going to be used to help with any storage or data storage things they have going on with this blockchain. The blockchain is forever evolving, and so is this storage layer. Okay, you guys, it's creating more efficient, more scalable ways to be able to have storage on this Tron platform. So when I say storage, I'm basically referring to like data and things like that, and you want that data to be secure and to be stabilized. Okay, so that's what this layer is going to be doing. It's going to be securing and stabilizing, creating stability for this platform so that they can add even more ways to protect the data storage that is on this platform. Okay, again, blockchain is pretty open and everything's out there and everything, but you don't want all of your data being out there. Okay, so you need to find an efficient way to store this data, and that is exactly what this storage layer is supposed to be doing, what it is doing actually. So now we have the application layer, and this layer is going to be responsible for helping the software developers and engineers on this platform to be able to interact and actually use the tools on this platform to create whatever they want, whether that be apps or their own little blockchain projects and things like that. It's going to be helping them and assisting them with this layer. Okay, so I actually did a deeper dive into the application layer. I did a deeper dive inside all these layers, okay, but I thought the application layer was very, very important. So I got a textbook definition of it actually, and like specifically saying what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and read that off for you guys. So it's designed to help software engineers effectively interact with the Tron ecosystem. Because Tron blockchain features its own built-in smart contract system, it holds strong potential for supporting new apps built on top of the platform. Overall, Tron encourages simple and universal integration with most programming languages and design methodologies, improves the overall efficiency of the protocol and its development capabilities for constructing new applications. So as you can see, this layer is very, very important. It's very, very important for you to get anything done for real. You're going to have this application layer. And I love how the Tron ecosystem breaks it down into 3 parts so that each part can be properly optimized. Okay, you're not just trying to jumble everything up inside of one layer, inside of one like concept. You're breaking it down and you're literally optimizing each phase or each layer to where it can have its most scalable and most reliable type of outcomes for this ecosystem. So now we're gonna hop into what makes the Tron ecosystem so special, okay? And that is because of its Tron virtual machine. Now, pause, you guys. This should not be a new term that you're hearing. If you've been following my channel, you know exactly what a virtual machine is. I have an entire video dedicated to a virtual machine, Ethereum virtual machine, okay? So I hope that you have been following these lessons, lesson by lesson, not skipping through any of them, because each lesson literally like flows its way into the next one as far as the information that's being shared. It doesn't matter if the 2 coins are completely different, they still have a flow to it, which is why I do it in a specific order that I do it in. All right, so now we're going to go over the Tron virtual machine. I have the textbook definition for this. It is a little bit lengthy because if you did not go through those videos and you have no idea what a virtual machine is, I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to give you an example, okay? But you should have known, okay? But all right, so Tron virtual machine, which is also known as TVM, is a virtual machine is an operating system or application environment that emulates a computer system. Okay, TVM is a VM built on the Tron foundation for the purpose of making the Tron's ecosystem bigger and better. For example, a programmer with Windows system requires a Unix-based OS, which is operating system, to complete a project but couldn't afford a new computer. With a virtual machine, the programmer is able to create an environment and operate other software in a different environment with existing computer. So exactly what that means is that you can use different operating systems on a different computer, okay? So if you have one computer, you can run different operating systems on that computer using this virtual machine, this TVM, okay? Ethereum virtual machine does the same exact thing. So you don't have to always upgrade and get all this new fancy equipment and things like that. You just have to have this virtual machine on your computer, and it will allow you to run multiple versions of operating systems, okay? So that is amazing. So like I said, you have a Windows, but you need a different type of operating system that you're trying to run on that computer. Just because you have Windows doesn't mean you can only operate on Windows. When you have a virtual machine, it's allowing you to operate on different type of operating systems and programs, okay? That is so important. When you have millions of people around the world operating on different operating systems, you want to be able to have a fair chance at every single operating system because they offer different things. You don't want to be able to not do something because you have an old computer. So you can have a super old computer, but if you have a virtual machine on that, you're good. So the TVM is going to be compatible with the EVM. So that means anything that you created on the Ethereum virtual machine network type of processing system, you can bring that on. You can merge that onto the Tron ecosystem, okay? So if you have a project on the Ethereum network, you can literally bring it onto the Tron network and continuing out with that project, having the same tools and everything, which is very amazing. I think that's smart, okay? So we have to remember all these, not all, but majority of these crypto coins, like their structure and everything like that, is going to be open source. So that means that other crypto coins and other crypto networks are able to use their source code to be able to further, update their own blockchains, update their own platforms and things like that. So on quote unquote, you can say that Tron kind of stole the Ethereum virtual machine idea, but really it's an open source code, so it's available for everyone to use, okay? It's just up to you if you're going to use it and try to really perfect it to make it work for you and your blockchain and your ecosystem, okay? But that's exactly what Tron did. So they're like, anything you can do on Ethereum, you can do it on Tron. Bring it over here, and it's really cool. So, and the fees are a lot lower on the Tron network as well. But as far as like adoption, Ethereum is adopted way more than Tron. As you can see, the price of Tron is like 33 cents. The price of Ethereum is thousands of dollars. So it's like, but the only reason it's thousands of dollars is because the amount of people who have adopted it. The more people who get interested in trading and adopting it, the more volatile the market is, the more money that it's going to be worth for each token, okay? So always remember that. So just because a token is low in price doesn't mean that it's low in utility. So yes, Tron quote unquote stole the open source code of Ethereum, but it is a little bit different. They didn't do it exactly the same as Ethereum because Ethereum uses gas, okay? They have gas fees and things like that are keeping their network up and running. What this Tron network has is going to be called bandwidth, okay? This is a new concept that I'm bringing onto you guys. So if you don't know what that is, it's okay. Let me teach you because we have never talked about bandwidth before. So because we've never talked about it before, I have the textbook definition for it. It is a little bit lengthy, but since again, this is our first time bringing it up in my series, I'm going to give you the full deal squeeze on this one, okay? So TVM uses bandwidth instead of Ethereum gas. Tron uses bandwidth points as payments. By default, each user has 600 bandwidth points, which represents 600 bytes of data. Transactions are measured in how many bytes they occupy in a block. So if a transaction is larger than the amount allowed by default, the user must purchase more bandwidth points. More bandwidth points can be acquired by staking the TRX tokens. Every account must purchase energy. The additional bandwidth points is proportional to the amount of TRX staked. 1 byte of data equals 1 bandwidth. Bandwidth doesn't accumulate, so unused points don't carry over to the next day. So in a sense, it kind of is very similar to the Ethereum gas. So you know how when you have a gas in a car, it's going to do what you want it to do, drive where you want it to drive, as long as you have that gas in the car. But as soon as that gas runs out, all operations are done. It's not going anywhere. It's not doing nothing for you until you put some more gas in it. Until you pay for some more gas and put more gas in it, that is when it's going to start back up again and do what you need it to do, okay? But until then, it's not going to do nothing. So that is exactly how the Ethereum platform works as far as gas. Now, when it comes to this Tron network, it's very similar as far as you need that bandwidth, those bytes, okay, in order to support whatever project that you are doing on the platform. So 1 byte is going to equal 1 bandwidth, okay? So that's the cool thing about this 1-to-1 ratio. 1 is going to equal 1, okay? So, but without it, you can't do anything. You're going to have to purchase more, and it is going to be proportional to however much your project is like pushing out. Whatever your project is trying to do, however much energy it's trying to do, it's going to be on a 1-to-1 ratio as far as its bandwidth and the amount of money that you're going to be spending for these operations. So it's not completely different from the way Ethereum does things as far as their gas operations. Basically with this, they just kind of gave it a different name and a little bit twisted the concept just a little bit, making it on a 1-to-1 ratio based on the number of bytes that it's using, but in actuality it is kind of the same thing. Okay, now let's go into their consensus mechanism, which is going to be the DPoS, which I mentioned earlier, known as the delegated proof of stake. Now this is the first time that I have used or mentioned this type of consensus mechanism, so I am going to give you the long drawn out textbook definition for this. Okay, you guys, so let's go ahead and jump into that. Tron uses a delegated POS. Instead of all computers competing to solve puzzles, Tron users vote for a small group of trusted reps to manage the network. Super representatives, known as SRs, only 27 nodes, which are known as super nodes, are in charge of verifying transactions and creating new blocks. Voting with the DPoS, anyone who holds TRX coins can freeze, aka stake them, to get voting power. They use this power to vote for the SR candidates. The top 27 SRs take turns producing blocks every 3 seconds, resulting in super fast transactions. SRs get paid in TRX. If they don't perform well, they can be voted out by the community in 6-hour cycles. So you guys, remember that this SRs is going to be super representatives, okay? So that's what SR stand for. So those are the people that the network, that the users on the network are going to be basically putting in charge. So again, there are only 27 SRs, so there's only 27 super representatives, okay? So that means that all the users on the network are voting for these representatives, and they can vote. They have more voting power when they stake, okay? So the more TRX they stake, the more voting power that they're going to have, okay? So that's kind of like an incentive to start staking some TRX if you want this specific person, this specific node, to be in charge of validating and confirming transactions. Now, because there are only 27 of them on this network, they're voting for 27 of them. That means that the transactions are going to go by super fast. It's not hundreds of them or thousands of them on the network racing to, you know, basically solve this puzzle and use all this unneeded energy to be able to solve this and things like that. No, that's not how it works. There's 27 of them, all right? And they switch out periodically, you know, based on the voting and how well they're performing and things like that. But at any given point, there is always 27. It's not going to be more than that. No matter how many times they switch out, it's going to be 27. So that's just really amazing to me, in my opinion, because it allows the network to run a lot more smoother. There's a lot less energy being used, because let's be for real, I know Bitcoin is the, you know, the genesis of all crypto, which is probably why it uses some of the most energy intensive like consensus mechanism, which is going to be proof of work. Now, as all these new crypto coins are like emerging and coming into the crypto world, none of them are using POW. Okay, it's just not practical. Okay, it's practical for Bitcoin because it's the first crypto coin and it has been adopted by so many people. Cool, right? But for all these other coins, proof of work, solving a problem. What are you talking about? No, we're going to delegate some people to make it shake and make it go faster. Okay, so basically, I look at this network as more like a democracy, how people are voting to put people in charge. But at the same time, it's not technically a democracy because it's kind of unfair, because the more TRX that you have staked, the more voting power that you have. So it's just like here in America, the more money you have, the more you throw your money around, the more voting power you have. The more what you want to get done will probably get done. Just being honest. So I'm going to go into the different steps that it takes for a transaction to be considered confirmed on this network. And the first step is going to be voting. So that means you're going to vote for 27 delegates to run this network and to run the consensus of this platform. Step 2 is going to be the election. So every 6 hours, they're going to be choosing 27 basically delegates that have been chosen, that have received the most votes on the network to run this cycle, to be validators for this cycle. So every 6 hours, they're choosing 27. So that doesn't necessarily mean that every 6 hours, they're choosing 27 brand new delegates or people who have been elected. No, that's not what they're doing. They're just choosing the 27 with the most votes. So within those 6 hours, we have step 3. So this in step 3 is when they're going to actually be validating, okay? So they're going to be taking turns. Those 27 validators are going to be taking turns every 3 seconds doing transactions, validating transactions and things like that. And that is going to happen for a 6-hour long cycle. So last, we're going to have confirmation. In a way that a transaction can be considered confirmed and validated is if at least 19 of the 27 SRs vote on that transaction. So they're like, yes, this is good, or no, this is not good. Whichever way they vote, that is how it's going to be confirmed. Okay, so because it's only 27, okay, that are voting on this, the transactions per second are around 2,500 transactions per second. Super fast, you guys. Okay, so that is basically like the whole gist on how their consensus mechanism works. It's called a DPoS, which means a delegated proof of stake. So you are staking cryptocurrencies to be able to choose these delegated validators. Okay, so that's how we're putting each word and making sense of it inside of like a definition. Okay, you guys, so that does conclude our lesson in our overview of the Tron and the TRX ecosystem. Okay, I hope that I answered all the questions that you may have had. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. But before I leave you guys, I wanted to remind you guys that pretty girls can do crypto too. Mwah.